Arrived at the prescribed date and time. I'll call the meeting to
Hey,
order.
this is Liz.
Yes?
I can't hear.
Oh, the mute.
Okay. How's that?
That's much better.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Thumbs up from Amanda.
Okay, to join the Zoom meeting tonight, it's https://us02web.zoom.us/j/8727-198-0587 .pwd. Meeting ID is 872-7198-0587. The passcode is 981143. You can dial by your location at 1-929-205-6099 US. Zoom chat will not be monitored. Participants who wish to speak must raise the hand icon until the chair asks them to unmute. Note this meeting is being recorded for live broadcast and televised replay by Bourne TV. If anyone in the audience is audio or visually recording, please indicate at this time. Seeing none. First agenda item would be the meeting minutes of October 24th, 24.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minute meeting at 10:24 as presented.
Second that.
Any other discussion from the board members? Roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes. Liz?
Yes,
Amanda?
Hi there.
Aye. Meeting minutes is,
No, you weren't.
Yeah, so it's,
Neither was I. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to jump
Okay.
in on that. I'm just
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
abstaining.
And you were abstaining also. Okay. 2 abstentions. Next on the agenda is the Development of Regional Impact DRI referral to the Cape Cod Commission. 317 Barlos Landing Road, map 43.2, parcel 51, site plan review, special permit. The application is for a 120-foot monopole. This is an automatic DRI referral to the Cape Cod Commission. I understand Attorney Francis Parisi is here. Parisi, you could step up to the lectern if you want to tell us anything.
I just want to introduce myself. My name is Francis Parisi. We have filed an application with the Planning Board that I know is going to get referred to the Cape Cod Commission. I expect will take us 3 to 4 months to get through the commission, and we'll be back here after that to give a more formal presentation.
A little bit lighter in the pocketbook,
Yes.
but you'll be back.
Yes. I did want to announce one thing. I'm sure planning staff has alerted you. As part of the Cape Cod Commission process, they require us to do a visibility demonstration where we put a balloon in the air, we take pictures and do photo simulations. I've advertised that for next Tuesday, assuming the weather will cooperate. I've got a website that was in the advertisement. I'm sure planning staff can help you find that. And I think it might help if the planning commission, if there was, planning board, if they were so inclined, to try to visit it next Tuesday or whenever we do it. I put an ad in the paper. I notified all the abutters within 300 feet because they're going to get notice of the public hearing. And so I give them an opportunity to see it as well. But so I just throw that out for your information. But we'll have a complete photo simulation package for the planning board when we come back here in the winter.
That would be March,
Yeah.
if we're lucky. Okay, yes, and our planning staff has put out that notice to all the board members that the balloon test will be up. Again, it's going to be weather dependent. If the wind is too much, that's going to alter it. If it's raining or something, that's going to alter it. so-
Exactly. We're pretty good about it, and we'll let people know as best we can.
Okay. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we send this to the Cape Cod Commission as a development of regional impact for 317 Bartles Landing Road.
I'll second that.
Further discussion from the board? From the audience, anybody? No? Okay, we'll go through a roll call vote again, John.
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Vote, chair votes yes. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll see you in a couple months.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next is 0 Ernest Valeri Road, map 16, parcel 7, 8, and 9, application for a 5 megawatt ground-mounted voltaic system and associated battery energy storage system. Is anybody here from,
Mr. Chairman, this project also meets the development of regional impact for the Cape Cod Commission. I make a motion that we refer to the Cape Cod Commission for 0 Ernest Valeri Road for map 16, parcels 7, 8, and 9.
I'll second that.
second, Jim? Further discussion from the board? Anybody from the audience on that? No? Roll call vote? John?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
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 Chair votes yes. Okay, motion, that's off to the commission. Next on the agenda is a public hearing for an amended site plan review number 507A, 665 Scenic Highway, map 10, parcel 10. Application to modify a 5 megawatt ground-mounted voltaic system and associated battery energy storage system. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. For the record, my name is Nathan Collins. I am Director of Engineering for NextGrid. We were the original applicants and are the original developers working on construction of the project on site. As noted, we're here before you requesting 2 amendments to the original site plan approval back from August 2020. One of them is associated with the location of the battery energy storage systems. The original plan, which I don't think the batteries were fully designed at that permit level set, there was a kind of large pad, approximately just under 7,000 square feet, located on the northeast corner of the parcel. You can see on the plan up in this area. During construction and final design, that area would have required the construction of about a 34-foot high retaining wall in that area, and also excavation of a significant amount of material. Concern with the possibility of those tiebacks for that wall going into the existing utility easement that runs through that property. We relocated those battery systems to an area just south of that. That was, I guess, one of the flatter areas on the site based on the excavation and hauling out of material that was conducted. The pad system itself, the total area is actually smaller than that 7,000 square feet between all the 10 battery pad systems that were installed on site. And we were able to terrace them along the bottom of the existing slope adjacent to that easement. Again, the actual battery system did not change in terms of size from the original application and what was permitted in the building permit and the electrical permit. So that is kind of our first request. We can talk about it one at a time, or I can kind of go through both and then answer any questions.
Let's go
that you-
through them one at a time while
Okay.
we're on this one. Okay. Anything from staff on this?
Yes, I'm happy. I have photos that I can pull up as well.
Okay.
If you want to, but I did issue a memo out to the board and to the applicant regarding the deficiencies at the site. I can go back a little bit in history and say that in August of 2020, the planning board did approve site plan review for the 5 megawatt solar photovoltaic system, accessed via a 15-foot wide, 2,000-foot long paved drive extending from Scenic Highway. The project area is approximately 46 acres, with the solar array occupying 35 acres. And the battery energy storage system is comprised of 10 units. On August 5th of 2024, there was a fire because of a disconnection error in one of the battery inverter cabinets when it was being serviced by an individual. So the emergency shutoff contained the fire to the cabinet, and it didn't spread. The fire department issued an order of notice, and the building commissioner issued a cease and desist order. The applicant has applied to amend the originally approved site plan review, but there are several outstanding issues. The 15-foot wide, 2,000-foot long paved drive is not paved at all. It's just gravel. And I think Sean's pulling up the pictures. This is the temporary address marker. They did recently file for a sign permit, which is, I believe, in our viewpoint queue. It hasn't been signed off yet.
Now, do they have to get that through Mass DOT? Because scenic highway is a state road?
I don't know. I will look
Any
into it.
idea? Ken?
I don't think so, but I can check.
Okay.
Yeah. So they did move the battery storage place. That was as-built. They were gonna show it on the as-built, so that's what they were showing on the as-built, but it wasn't installed as originally approved by the planning board. I do not think a swept path analysis has been provided, but there are a lot of requirements from the fire department that I know that the applicant is working with the fire department right now. And each solar panel row needs to be labeled, and the corresponding battery storage cabinets to the applicable rows need to be labeled. And also on the address, there needs to be a map on it showing the solar panels and the numbers as well. And then the environmental and erosion siltation controls are required under the zoning bylaw. And on the west side of the property, I think Sean can probably get to that photo. I think it's the last photo. This is getting into the site, and it's a large-scale solar site. That's the fire that occurred in the cabinet, the previous one. And then this is the western side of the property, and it's really not passable by a vehicle on that western edge. You can see how the fence is kind of curved. And then I think the last picture here, this is the retaining wall on the west side. So you can see a small, like, it's maybe like 3-block retaining wall, but part of it has failed, and you can see a lot of erosion and runoff from that area. You can see it's like really deep runoff because of the topo. So that definitely needs to be addressed. And they did provide us recently with a bond, a decommissioning bond, and so I have sent that to town council for him to take a look at. I think that's it.
Question. Jen, would you clarify that the access way from scenic highway to the security gate is not paved?
Correct, it is not paved.
Yeah,
Anybody
there's sections of it that are paved from the previous
Operation?
operations that were there.
Discontinuous, though.
What's that?
Discontinuous pavement.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's paved to kind of the bottom of the slope, and then it turns back to gravel.
Anybody else from the board? Okay. I do like the fact that the batteries have been relocated. I think it's much more accessible to the fire department if they have to respond up there than if it was up as originally proposed. So I think you've done a good job on that. It's just, we're gonna have to make sure that we get that approval in for that. But you've got a bunch of other issues that seems like need to be taken care of before we proceed.
Yeah, so I'm happy to address all those. We have a contractor lined up to address that wall. Obviously, we have a cease and desist, so we can't work there right now. I have a structural engineer working on an actual engineered plan. So to go a little further back, the civil contractor that we had on the site is no longer working. He was fired. He built that wall with no tiebacks, no drainage material behind it, hence the failure. So we are working with a company called Luna Engineering. They are working on a actual stamped drawing to submit for a building permit to the building inspector, so we can start construction on that. It will, our goal is to reuse the existing block, but include tiebacks, drainage, and we're gonna install riprap, I think the first 15 feet, kind of west of that wall, to support the drainage issues that we have on that slope. We
So
see-
from the top of the new wall that's going to be built, you're going to go up on a slope with more riprap?
With some riprap, yeah, to stabilize that first section. I will note, we seeded that slope, I think, 4 different occasions. It's just, it never took. In terms of access, again, so there is a gravel drive around that site. I've personally driven it in my vehicle. I know, as noted, we're working diligently both with the building department and with the fire department, just to make sure that they're comfortable with the access that's provided. That actually is part of the second amendment that we requested, is really the actual paving of that access drive. We have, I think, 15 large-scale ground mounts in operation in New England, with probably another dozen that are in construction, none of which have a gravel path around the entire facility. Most of it just provides gravel pathways to the equipment, whether it's batteries, transformers, et cetera. None of them, and I've only been in the solar industry 4 years, but I have never personally been involved with a project that actually has pavement around that entire perimeter. I know you mentioned 2,000 feet. It's almost a mile around that entire facility. So it's probably $1 million paving job to build that, pave that actual road. We do, and again, working with the fire department, we are going to enhance with actual dense grade material the gravel drive to all of the battery systems, both the northern ones and the southernmost one. And I'm working with BSC Group now on providing a turnaround down in that lower area. We have not provided the vehicle path analysis yet, because I'm waiting on final just vehicle information from the chief. And again, we're in constant communication and in constant providing them all the information that they've asked for. I do understand that sign is temporary. I actually made it. I'm not an artist. But we do have an application, and we put that temporary sign up, again, at the request of the chief, just to make sure there was an address there after that, after the incident. So.
Dan?
Yeah, on the wall repair, you're gonna repair the wall, go 15 feet up with riprap, and then you're gonna try to loam and seed or stabilize beyond that to the fence at the top
We're
of the
going to
hill?
use a special slope stabilization fabric, yeah. So the contractor that we have lined up, they're Zane Construction, they're out of Connecticut, but all they do is it's site civil work associated with solar fields.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one other question. You said you've worked on projects and you've never had to pave all the way around the whole project?
Never.
Have you ever had a fire like to this extent on any other projects?
No,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Doc?
Do you have plans to pave the access from Scenic Highway to the gate? And does the fire department have a comment on the condition of the road?
Could you repeat?
I asked if the company plans to pave the access way from Scenic Highway up to the security gate, and does the fire department have any comments on the condition of the existing access way?
I just will note, I do not believe the original plan showed pavement all the way from Scenic Highway to, I think the original approved plan showed pavement starting at the emergency access gate. I mean, that site has had vehicular traffic with tractor trailers loaded up with gravel and sand for 30 years that have used those roadways with no issues.
It's a sloped way, isn't it?
Correct.
I
But
just
the
wa- I
slope-
wonder
the s-
about gravel ending up on Scenic Highway.
I'm sorry, any sloped area is paved. It's paved from Scenic Highway all the way to, I don't know if you can throw up that large picture. This site, you can kind of see it. So pavement comes all the way down and ends, there's a long access drive that takes you kind of all around the property. And it's paved till probably about here, to the bottom of that steep slope. and then where it gets somewhat level between that point and the construction gate is a dense graded gravel material.
Yeah, I'm mostly concerned about the steep areas and runoff. So from scenic highway to close to a few hundred feet from the security gate, it's paved.
Is paved, I would say that, yeah.
Okay.
And that's the level part. Anything else, Doc? No?
Dave Palonzi, Fire Chief, also Sagamore Beach. As you mentioned, there are issues with site access. The way it is right now, when we had the fire in that unit, we were able to get to there, but the road is kind of washed out and it's a little bit more narrow. I don't know that we'd be able to make the second battery storage yet. And as Nathan said, he got around there in his vehicle, but now with the washout, we would not be able to get all the way around the site with our engines, our ambulances, or even our forestry unit right now. We did get a swept path analysis in the beginning at the application period when I had requested it. It used our ladder truck specs, which is what we use for all of our swept path analysis. In reality, we would not use a ladder truck anywhere out there, but that's the standard that we use. But that was based on the initial plan, not the as-built. So, and as Nathan said, we are working with them to reevaluate, and I'm going to try to get them our specs so that they can get us a better swept path analysis. But the conditions right now, like I said, we were able to get to where the fire was. I can't guarantee we'd get to the second battery storage, and if someone were to get injured or if there was an issue with one of the PV units out in the field, we couldn't get out there currently.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, my concern about supporting the fire department and to make sure that the access to their needs is met.
Yes,
Agreed.
absolutely. Building inspector?
Building Commissioner or Building Inspector Ken Murphy. I've visited the site plenty of times, and I really, in my opinion, don't think an asphalt access would be the smart way, because looking at some of the things that have happened there and a lot of the runoff, I think over time, if it's not driven constantly, to be packed down or something like that, it's just going to start falling apart. And, grass cutting through a number of different things. You do have a pile of, what is that? You have stone in there? Screening. I think that would be the best, based on my observation, would be the best to repave that access area all the way around with that. So that way, it's pervious, because there is a lot of destruction constantly going over there on that site. But also, in Nathan's, dealing out there, I think moving the fence back of certain sections will probably make the best fit to make everything work out. I do have to stress there was a lot of work done without permits, but they've been great at trying to work to get this straightened back out and get us back on track with the retaining wall and which should have been a permanent issue anyways from the beginning. So I did bring one of the members out there today and to get an idea of how it has to be maintained constantly, because there is a lot of the erosion. All right, but going down to Scenic Highway and then accessing this 3/4 inch stone for a portion of it, and then it turns to asphalt and it turns back to 3/4 inch stone all the way down to the bottom. I think that makes sense based on what K-Car Aggregate had dealt with in the past as far as getting their vehicles up in the road. Maybe having the 3/4 inch stone gave them some traction before they got to the asphalt. On each end of that side of that asphalt section there are bigger pieces of, was it granite or something on boulders on the side that kind of contain the asphalt and keeping it in order. But there are sections of the asphalt that are close to the site, as you can see, are starting to erode, and holes underneath and a few other things. I think that would happen if we do an asphalt access point all the way around over time. So, my opinion.
John?
I toured the site today, and I agree with Ken's observations there. And in my experience in building, the reprocessed, dense grade, those types of materials are readily available on site to make repair works and so forth. I think with the sort of intensity of storms we have these days, we're going to see more and more of that. And as Ken mentioned, I did observe there's portions of pavement that they wind up undermined from the heavy runoff, and that's not as easily repaired. And again, with the fence movement, if it works out for the fire department, I think if the access way around the project were a compactable, pervious, easily repairable medium, it would be the best choice.
Yeah.
I do know that when the Landers was in there and the gravel permit, part of the reason they had asphalt, then stone, then asphalt and everything, was to get the sand off of the tires previous to them getting out onto the, and you see that in a lot of gravel process. They'll have a section that's paved or gravel, then a section of stone, and that's just to help clean everything up before they head out onto the road, so.
Yeah, and in terms of vehicular traffic that site will see once operational, I mean, you're talking about maintenance vehicles 3 times a year. So outside of emergency access, that's the largest vehicle that is ever going to go back into that parcel. And, you know, our proposed plan does include enhancing that perimeter access drive with gravel. That's, you know, the plan that was submitted. And talking with, when I walked the site with our contractor, we did a drone survey. That's how we put together the as-built locations of everything. There are sections of the fence that he thinks he can move to provide kind of wider access at certain locations where there's pinpoints. So we're going to work through that with our contractor. Again, we've worked closely with the fire department. You know, we have another project in town that we're working on with the town. We're trying to, you know, work through it, and we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
Chairman?
And we also have, because of that, we want to make sure that you get this one right before we start talking about.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate incident. I just want to make note that the fire had nothing to do with equipment malfunction. It was simply an unfortunate user
Well,
error.
accidents happen, and that's
Yeah.
why we prepare ahead of time to make sure that we've got everything covered ahead of time. So, Dan?
Yeah, one more question. You said you have maintenance vehicles there about 3 times a year. What about snow removal?
So that had come up yesterday with the fire department. It's not in our current operation and maintenance plan. We don't typically plow. We can certainly discuss with them about at least plowing to the equipment areas. But it was a good question that came up that, quite honestly, I didn't have the answer to. We don't typically plow our sites in terms of perimeter.
Yeah. But typically, you don't have a hill like that either.
Sure.
You know, I just want to make sure that if they need access to and from, that it's available, because you don't want it in the middle of a storm or right afterwards. You want to make sure you still have the
Yeah,
access.
we'll have to work that out with, so the site eventually, when we achieve final completion, will be sold to a larger energy company that handles kind of the long-term operation and maintenance. So I put that request into them to get a response, but I haven't received anything yet.
Thank you.
Okay. Catherine?
I just want to go back to the building permit. I don't know, I heard that you did not pull building permits for certain pieces of the project already?
We pulled a building permit, and the original plan had a wall on it. So we have another wall on site. It's much smaller than the one that was on the approved plan. I personally didn't pull the building permit. Our site contractor did, so I don't know. I don't want to speak for Ken or try to.
That's okay, so if it was
Yeah.
just an error, I just want to make sure moving
Yeah,
forward,
we
if we're
had a
going to do other
building permit for the
projects
site,
that
but
we're
I
aware
think,
of that.
I think what Ken noted is it just said fence and solar. Is it? Yeah. So that may have been an error on our previous contractor, but again, our new contractor with stamped structural plans for that wall is going to pull a new building permit so he can complete that work.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anybody else? How about the, what was the other condition that was there?
Labeling of map.
No, there was, how long do you think it's gonna take you to get these plans done and start construction and fix that road and everything else?
I'm probably 2 weeks away from having the stamped structural plan.
Okay.
If we can get approval to start work, I was talking with the civil contractor today, and I told him I'm ready to give, NTP, depending on the result of tonight's hearing. He can start that gravel work right away,
Okay.
at least in terms of, the road to the Bess. And he also has in his scope, the previous civil contractor who built the detention pond did a terrible job. I don't know if that's in the notes, but he's also gonna rework that and get that up in accordance with the plan.
And the labeling of all the rows and battery
That is
operations?
something, I already ordered the reflector, and I live locally in Sandwich, so that's probably on my to-do list.
Okay.
But in terms of the map,
Meeting with the officials.
in
the
terms of the
emergency
map she
response
noted
plan.
for the batteries, I presented that to Chief yesterday. So we're gonna have that made. We're gonna add a solar light at the gate. So that'll be lit in the event that they had to go out at night. I also provided him a draft copy of the plan that showed all the labeling of the rows and which combiner boxes go to which batteries. So that'll be provided in a full 24x36 in what's called a Knox box. We're just kind of talking through final location of where that will go, whether it's up at the main gate or if it's down at the access gate. I think main gate is what we decided.
Okay. And the builder commissioner requested an independent third-party engineer review the project.
Yep, of the fire suppression system. We have the services of Tony Caputo. He's a retired firefighter, was on the fire board. We've been going back and forth through questions with him. We hope to have that in the next 2 weeks or so.
So from what I hear, from what you're saying is with the engineering reports coming in, weather permitting, you're gonna be getting going, you should be done within, what, 60 days?
Yeah, I would like to have the site buttoned up before the end of the year.
So would we.
What's that?
So would we.
Yeah, but and just so the board's aware, that site is not going to be fully operational probably until Q3 of '25, and that's because of the utility. So we won't have what we refer to as PTO, permission to operate, from the utility, because they have a large substation project that they were supposed to be done with last fall, that they're not done with.
Probably haven't even started.
In terms of construction, I think you're correct.
Yeah.
So we've been given partial PTO just to discharge some energy into the system, but we won't have full PTO until probably late 2025. That doesn't mean we can't get the site address, but in terms of final sign-off.
Final, okay. Anybody else from the board? No? Anybody from the, chief? Chief? Oh, building commissioner?
As Nathan mentioned, they do have cease and desist at the moment, and if the board agrees, I can, lift the cease and desist so they can start addressing some of the issues on the site, the sign, access, pavement, start working on those things, but at the moment, they're held up by the cease and desist based on.
I would suggest to the board that we allow Ken to make that determination if they're ready to proceed, once he sees the new plans and whatnot. Anybody from the board? Catherine?
I have a quick question, though. Is that okay with what was presented for the fire department? The change in the roadways that was discussed, is that acceptable on how,
If we'll have the access, yeah. If the access is improved, that we can get around.
okay, all right, thank you.
On that suggestion that I made, how's the board feel on that? We let Ken take lead on
I
that?
think it's good.
Okay, so do I. Okay. Anybody else on the board? Chief? Chief Easop?
Bernie Easop, Police Chief. I just have one question. It was tied into the issue, the fire that we had. So there was a communication issue. There was no cellular down there, and the worker that was there had to go up to the top of the hill to make contact. And then when he was trying to figure out where what to turn off, what needed to be done, he didn't have internet access. We didn't have access. He was asking to use our hotspot. That wasn't working down there. What's in place to make sure that we can have communication, or your workers can be safe when they're down there?
Yes. So unfortunately, the work that the tech was doing on site, he was in the process of commissioning and testing the batteries and the controls. He dropped a handle in the inverter, which caused an arc, which caused a fire. His cell phone was also in the inverter that caught fire, and that's why he didn't have the ability to call anyone, and he had to walk up. But the actual design of the fire suppression system has a Starlink system that goes to dispatch. Dispatch then contacts the fire department. So it's all communications will be there once we get all the final batteries commissioned. But again, right now they're not fully operational. We were in the process of commissioning before the cease and desist. We've been working with the inspector, and he gave us permission to continue commissioning of those batteries, which we've started again. So there'll be proper communication and fire panel communication in that system.
And for the two chiefs, how is radio communication down in that pit? Pretty good? No issues? Okay. So other than not having cell service, that's going to be tough in there.
Yeah, again, he would have had cell service if he had his cell phone. He shouldn't have been working alone. It should have been a two-man team. We've talked to he was hired by the battery manufacturer that was commissioning those batteries. He was not hired directly from NextGrid. We've since notified them, of the issue. And they provided an incident report, which we provided to the inspector's office. So it was a unfortunate situation that thankfully no one got hurt.
Right. And is NextGrid willing to commit to the fact that there will not be anybody in there alone working?
Yeah, so one of the conditions that we worked out, we have a sign-in sheet. But yeah, any actual electrical work, it'll be two-man crews.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else from the board? No?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Go ahead.
that we give the building commissioner the authority to approve a permit for the repairs to the retaining wall and the associated work, and that we approve the number 1 and number 2 changes to the site, which would include the access way around the site, subject to a plan approved by the fire department and the building department, and also to approve the new location for the batteries.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second by Mr. Doucette. Any further comments from the board, from the audience? Chiefs, you guys good with that? Okay, roll call vote. Start with you.
Yes.
Yeah. Liz?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you, sir, and
Thank you.
good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing, amended site plan review / special permit 04-2023A, 119 Cranberry Highway, map 12.3, parcel 60, continued from October 24th. Applicant is to open a new restaurant and a brewery.
Good evening. My name is Edward Hahn. I represent 6A Brewing, the applicant. Let me introduce my colleagues here with me this evening. This is Linus Ravinskis. Mr. Ravinskis is the principal of 6A Brewing. Regan Jason, the owner of the property where my tenant, a portion of which my tenant leases, on which he proposes to reestablish a brew pub, and our engineer, Evan Watson. From your perspective, this is an amendment to a pre-existing application, and that is Mr. Jason's application to erect a steel frame building, I believe it is, on the property. My client, Mr. Ravinskas, formerly operated this brew pub up until the COVID epidemic shut him down. We'd now like to reestablish that use, which requires a special permit. And we're here today to address the town's comments on our application. Present the plan. Yeah. We're going to bring up the plan here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Evan Watson, W Engineering, representing the applicant. The plan I show right here is the plan that we previously reviewed and you folks approved, which showed the proposed garage building here. And we also had the existing restaurant shown on that and basically proposed no changes to the restaurant. We've since developed a new set of plans, which meets the requirements for special permit and site plan review. But I colored up this plan so we could have a little easier look at it. So here we see the proposed garage. Part of the application, try to move this. Oh, it's wireless, okay. So the folks at home can hear us. We were asked to provide some screening here we added 3 trees. We added a few trees over here to be placed in the field at the time when we construct things. So those are still shown on the plan. And then essentially what we've done is propose to restripe any of the existing 23 parking spaces that are there. There is currently no dumpster pad for the restaurant. So we added a dumpster at the end of the parking area with a screen fence around it. And then there's also a waste receptacle here on a pad, so we propose to screen that as well. As far as other vegetation, there is existing landscaping in front of the existing restaurant and a nice existing tree that we're looking to keep. And basically that's it. It's the existing restaurant as it existed before, and he's looking to get things open and running once again. We did receive a few comments from planning, and we have a memo, and we're happy to go over it. But some of the main components were this retaining wall in the back had a few pieces that didn't look so great, so that's actually already been repaired. It was just some minor work to repair that. And then the other comments were that we couldn't see the striping, so we made sure that we restriped those there. When we do the calculations for the parking spaces, we are required to have 29 spaces. And right now we have 23 spaces, so we'd like to talk to the board about that. And then I think the only other issue was lighting. So we weren't proposing any new lighting other than the existing lightings that's there. There is some lighting on the existing building, and there actually is some lighting provided by this pole right here, which shines in this direction and this direction. I think the bulb is burnt out that just needs to be replaced. So that would provide adequate lighting for that area as it did in the past. So we're happy to go through, take any questions and go through the planner's memo or any other comments that we received.
Before we moved, there were 2 things. You said there was a new dumpster going in the back corner. Now it's going to be screened in, but you also said there's another waste receptacle closer to the building?
It's not a waste receptacle, it's a tank that's associated with the various plumbing and tanks that's,
Okay.
it's the brewery.
Yep.
Okay, so it's the hops, tanks, and...
It's a drum, yeah, for the, what doesn't go into the beer, like the hops that goes to the bottom gets pumped into there, and then that gets vacuumed out and hauled away to a treatment plant.
Is that particular receptacle on a pad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just gonna say, because otherwise you'd have spillage and...
Yeah, and it's not a tank like it's like a drum, a large drum. Yep.
Okay. Anybody else from the board?
Good question. On the lighting, I know one of the neighbors was referring to the lighting. And I know when we approved the garage going back there, we required certain lighting that came like below a certain level. Are you gonna have any lighting in the back or the side of the parking lot? Because you're gonna have 23 spaces of parking. And if that's the case, could we put the lights that, like we requested for the garage, where they're not interfering with the neighborhood?
So right now, there'll be some wall packs on this garage that go down, and then same thing off of the restaurant, the lights go down, and then the light that's on this pole shines down towards here. And then the neighboring properties, back here is actually owned by T&J Realty, which is owned by Regan Jason. And then this property here, which is Shelby Properties, is also owned by Regan Jason. So the abutting properties all around are all owned by the current owner. So it's pretty good as far as having neighbor complaints, because.
I got one more for him.
Good.
Also, I visited the site, and I know you have some bushes or shrubbery in front of the building, but I think under one of the
We're
requirements.
8 trees and 75 bushes.
Right.
Is what you've asked for.
Yes, that's okay with you.
We're not quarreling with that.
Okay.
But I don't see a planting plan.
We have a planting plan?
We do have a planting plan. I did not show the 8 trees and 75 bushes on that at the time.
So it's not a planting plan?
Yeah, so we do have a planting plan, and again, it shows essentially what we proposed on what we got approved last time, for the 3 trees here. And you can also see on the abutting property, we do have a large swath of bushes and trees here. But if you want us to develop a planting plan, we can certainly.
Yes.
Just a couple comments, yeah.
I think we do. We want a planting plan.
We do indeed. The 75 shrubs, there may be some horse trading, shrubs for trees. The 3 eastern white pines in the back, I don't think they're necessary there.
Right, we talked about that. I
We
think
made
that's
it
a
very
condition.
clear when you were before us for the proposed garage that there are some existing large trees that are down in that gully.
Yep.
I don't expect your contractor to have to do anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
And your neighbor on that quadrant is the cemetery.
Yep.
So the only sensitivity I see is directly in the rear. And if your client is the property owner, you can decide what you want to do there, I think. But I'd suggest street trees in the front, just to slow your eye down when you go into this site. There's a lot of pavement in here. The 3 little leaf lindens, fine. I think they're not the right size. They're supposed to be 3-inch caliper minimum. Typically, that's 3 to 3.5 inch. And perhaps 6 or 7 street trees across the front. You've got a good one at the left corner, and just 35 feet apart, maybe, I don't have a scale on this, but a couple to the right side of the driveway, 3 to 4 if they fit on the left side of the driveway. Street trees. And then the shrub masses, you can do it, you can make proposals. I think we'd consider some alternate landscaping or, but the bones of the place, street trees along the main drive, and the screening with the linden trees, that's fine.
Okay.
We do want a planting plan.
Yep, we can provide that, not a problem.
Dan?
Yeah, you want to have the planting plan provided to the planning board prior to installation?
Yes.
So approved by staff?
Right. You guys can get us that?
Yep,
As
not a
soon as
problem.
possible. Okay. Anything else from the board? Anything else? The audience, anything?
The rear.
So we would be waiving the required parking from 27 to 23, the landscaping plan to be submitted to the board, and we can have staff review it, make sure that's okay. Any other conditions?
lining of the parking lot.
Yeah, the striping of the parking lot, a lot of it's gravel now, right?
No, so I highlighted the area that's actually asphalt, so all
Okay.
of this is asphalt where all the parking is.
Okay.
The area that's not, shown
The
back
back corner.
here, that's like a gravelly kind of recycled grass mix, so. we
The
weren't proposing
asphalt
anything.
portion needs to be striped.
Yep.
Striped properly.
And that's shown on the plan.
And that'll show at least one handicap spot.
We actually have 2 handicap spots here
Perfect.
that are van accessible.
All right, anybody else on the board?
Yeah, I do have one.
Oh.
We did have one complaint from the rear of the property. There was lights coming through. I do have some pictures from the lane behind there. I know you own both of but there could be some screening in the back that would really help the neighbors in the back of the property.
If you want to move those pine trees, that you place them.
Yeah, I can pull up the pictures here.
I think it's in the northwest corner of the site.
Reggie, you also have a storage trailer way up in the back near the residences?
They're storing the restaurant stuff until we get it empty.
Okay, then that'll be out of there. Perfect.
We can scroll through.
Nice deck.
It's a deck.
the-
Okay, there's the tank,
This was
okay.
the tank and then the wall right here as well.
So the wall's already been repaired.
Okay.
This was the storage unit in the back.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's storing all the restaurant equipment, so that will move into the restaurant and the container can go.
okay.
And there's like lobster, like, there's a lot of things on the site.
Yeah, so once, he hasn't built this yet, but there's, once this is here, a lot of that stuff is gonna go, because
All that
that's,
stuff's
yeah.
gone.
Okay.
Okay.
And when do you plan on starting construction on that rear building?
Not right away, right now, probably after the new year.
Okay.
So this is a picture from the street from behind.
Is that on Commonwealth Ave?
Yeah,
Okay.
and this is as well. So we just had a complaint about lights at night and noise, and then this is through the yard from Commonwealth Ave as well.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
So it could use some screening in the back.
If you took those pine trees and put them, I don't know what, 16 feet apart, and maybe Sean marks up the plan, the access that they should, what they should screen, where the viewpoint is and where the light is, and 7 to 8 footers, not 4 footers.
Yeah, we can work with that. When we present the landscaping plan, we'll add that on there. Perfect.
All right, anybody else on the board? From the audience? Anybody? Okay. Entertain a motion, who's got this sheet?
I have the sheet.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, or I'll read the draft approval. Mr. Chairman, I've received this project and the applicant, 6A Brewing, operated a brew pub until 2020, at which time it closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The applicant proposes to open a brewery/restaurant in the pre-existing 1,730 plus square foot SF restaurant structure. Mr. Chairman, based on the planning board's reviews of the exhibit, testimony of the applicant, expert witnesses on the record of the proposing, the planning board has found that the project is consistent with the town of Bourne's zoning bylaws, section 1230, site plan special permit, and section 1331, special permit criteria. Special permit number 04-2023A meets the criteria for special permitting for the following. The pedestrian, vehicular flow, and safety has been met. Defer to the Bourne Fire Department for emergency vehicle access. B, the utilities and other public services are adequate. The property and other buildings have adequate utility connections from Cranberry Highway. C, there is no impact to the area of the natural environment. D, the business will be located with an existing structure. E, existing visual impacts remain the same. F, the project is not located within a water resource district. There is no impact on the town's needs for year-round housing. Therefore, I move to approve the site plan special permit number 04-2023A in accordance with the following findings, terms, and conditions. The waivers. Waiver per section 3310 is granted to reduce the number of parking spaces needed from 29 to the required to 23 existing spaces on the property. Waiver per section 3511 is granted to authorize, right?
Yep.
Yep, go.
Okay, authorize landscaping alternatives to require 8 trees and 75 shrubs, taking into consideration existing vegetation. Okay, required landscaping plan be submitted to the planning department, and we already hit the one on the.
Right.
Okay. The permit is subject to all rules, regulations, and bylaws of the town of Bourne. 2, defer to the fire department for adequacy of emergency vehicle access. The fire department requests to review plans for fire suppression system, plans for the fire alarm system, plans for the solid waste fuel cooking appliances. There needs to be a physical inspection of equipment and acceptance test of both the suppression systems and the alarms. Any changes to the approved site plan or architectural plans must be approved by the planning board before being implemented on site. Prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, an as-built plan must be submitted to the planning board showing all appurtenances above or below ground. The decision shall be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds / Land Court Registry, and a copy returned to the planning department prior to issuance of a building permit. Defer to the health department for final determination of compliance with the sewerage system prior to issuance of a building permit. Defer to the appropriate water district for adequacy of water supply, clearly defined parking spaces, handicap signage, loading area with striping in accordance with section 2852. The retaining wall is to be repaired, and the building commissioner shall sign off on the retaining wall prior to issuance of building permit for the full project. Provide screening for residential properties to the rear of the property, dumpster, and all outside storage areas on the property in accordance with section 3530.
Thank you. Is there a second?
No.
Dan?
And also for a planting plan, landscape plan to be approved by the staff.
We already put that in.
Oh, that's okay.
Yep. we put that in.
Chairman, can I add to
Yep.
that landscaping plan? I think it should say prior to the issuance of a building permit, they would provide the planting plan to
Okay.
be approved by staff and a planning board representative.
Okay. You're good with that, guys?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Second.
Motion made, second. Further discussion? The audience, none?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Thank you. Amanda?
Yes.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Good luck, guys. Thank you for
Thank you very
doing
much.
business in
Thank
Bourne.
you.
and Thanks, Reggie.
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck, guys.
Meet you guys there for a beer.
Mr. Chairman, nothing left on the agenda. I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Yes.
Liz, yes.
You're here.
Amanda, yes.
Yes.
Amanda, yes.
Ahoy. Yes.
Doc, yes.
Ahoy.
Yes.
Yes.
You're here.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.